The game industry is great at digitally emulating some of the most exciting real-world experiences that can be had. Racing games, fighting games, even games about deep-sea exploration. Having played all of those, I can honestly say this is the first time I've played a game about getting together with friends to play a tabletop game. Knights of Pen and Paper Plus One is just that. You'll assemble a team of crack adventurers such as a pizza man warrior or a grandma wizard and venture into the pen and paper world in search of adventure. Each of these character classes has a particular set of skills you'd expect to see in most RPG settings, and upon leveling up you can put points into these skills and increase their effectiveness. You'll take on various quests and missions, purchase items to keep your team fighting strong, procure equipment to protect them, and, of course, fight hundreds of baddies in your quest to prove that you are the ultimate tabletop gaming nerd. Now, I've got to be completely honest with you and say that I've never really been that into tabletop role-playing games, which is why Knights of Pen and Paper is perfect for me. Why? Because I've always found it difficult to bring myself to the nerdy levels required to crack open a Dungeons & Dragons book and fill out a character sheet. It's my loss, I know. But Knights of Pen and Paper have made it easy for someone like me who is a little too ignorantly prideful to ask a bunch of tabletop veterans if I can play with them. But enough about my personal hangups, let's get back to the review, shall we? On the surface, Knights of Pen and Paper seems like a fairly shallow attempt at making a generic RPG with just a table of players sitting on screen at all times. But once you really start to dig in, you can tell that it's a lot more than that. The developers could have just easily made a simple RPG and called it a tabletop gaming simulation, but they took the time to add fairly funny and well-written dialogue between the GM and the players, as well as incorporate other little touches such as a rolling 20-side die to see if you succeed at things like traveling between towns and running away from a battle. That's not to mention the multitude of things you're able to purchase to customize the game space with new tables, area rugs, items, etc., etc. Not only do these things look great, but each one offers a unique bonus to the party stats that can give you just the edge you need to complete that difficult quest you've been working on. But now that I've mentioned purchasing things in the game, in the interest of full disclosure I have to tell you about the currency in the game. As you may have surmised, it's gold. The reason it bears mentioning, however, is that there's an in-game option to purchase more gold for real-world money. This may not be a big deal to most players, me being one of them, but to some it may be deemed as a little gross and seems slightly underhanded. The game originally comes from the Android marketplace where this kind of thing is common, so for those of you who don't regularly see these practices, it can be a little jarring. That concern being raised, I have to stress that the game feels really well balanced without having to resort to buying more gold. While in many other games of this ilk, the game's difficulty is skewed greatly to encourage the spending of real-world money, and Knights of Pen and Paper really feels like more of a shortcut rather than obligatory purchase to get through the game. Also, thankfully, the game never really shoves it in your face at all, so it's very easily ignored. Some other minor gripes include lack of information on certain screens. Now what I mean by that is that there's no skill description when choosing what skill to use in battle. The descriptions are available on the character sheet, but not in the heat of battle, making it difficult if you don't remember what each and every skill does. Also on the annoying end of the spectrum is not being able to sell multiple items at once. This causes you to have to drag and drop each individual item into the sell box. That means if you want to sell a stack of 20 carrots, you're going to have to drag each and every carrot to the box and sell it 20 times. Now, as I'm sure you've noticed already, Knights of Pen and Paper features a very well done old school sprite art style, but that's not all it has. It actually has a great soundtrack and sound effects that are true to the overarching theme of the game and sound like something you would have heard out of the early 90s video game era. The game really never misses a beat in its production value while staying true to its roots. There are a lot of gamers out there that want to immediately dismiss a game once they learn its origins are from a mobile device, and they are usually justified in doing so. In the case of Knights and Pen and Paper though, they would be depriving themselves of a great experience and only hurting themselves. It's not too often that we get a game that is this unique with its substance and presentation, and for that reason this game is getting a very strong recommendation for the $10 price tag it fetches on Steam. Although, if we're being honest, you're likely going to just wait till it goes on sale to pick it up. Regardless of how long you wait or how much you pay, you should pick up the game and give it a try. Knights of Pen and Paper gets a 5 out of 5.